All right. Welcome, people. I'm Rick Petrini, and all of you kids know me since you've all been in my classroom for a full year or just a visit day. So we're glad you're all here. All these kids, 5th through 8th grade, have worked hard on their projects, and we're excited to see what they have to share with us on this Genius Hour or Westcott Pavilion project, which I'm excited to learn about. I'm going to remind audience members to keep their microphones and video actually muted right now during the presentation. Only the presenter should have their video on of their face, and then they will share the screen. And then when they're done, they will take their screen off, stop sharing, and then we will see their face, and you can ask questions and give compliments. Please feel free to write down notes as you're watching the presentation so that you might be prompted something in your mind about a question you might want to ask. If you don't know about the raise your hand feature during question and answer, there's a little, if you hover at the bottom of your screen or your Teams meeting, you should see a little hand there. And if you let it sit for a second, it'll say raise hand. And then when you're finished with your question, you can hover over it and it will say lower hand. So that'll be a way for us to know who is waiting to ask questions. All right, Steele, you're first. So I think I'm ready for you to introduce yourself, please. And you can get to take it away.
All right. My name is Steele, and my presentation is on the Westcott project I did on ancient Egypt. Let me get this going. All right, so once again, my project was on Westcott and ancient Egypt. What is Westcott? Well, Westcott is a proposal similar to Epcot in Orlando, Florida. It was replaced by California Adventure in Anaheim, California, but like Epcot, it showcased people, architecture, and culture of countries all around the world in a showcase. Egypt during ancient times was called the Egyptian Empire. It lasted between 3100 BC to 332 BC. It was located in the same area as modern Egypt, which is in the upper right corner of Africa. However, unlike modern Egypt, it stretched from modern-day Syria to modern-day Sudan. Its population, on average, was around 1.5 million people, and the people spoke Egyptian and wrote in hieroglyphics. They practiced a religion known as ancient Egyptian religion, which was polytheistic, which means there was more than one god. So the project consisted of creating a pavilion. A pavilion is a land that showcases the country, and the pavilion has a story. This story means, or goal, that I would want to put on guests is looking into the past is as fruitful as predicting the future. This means that understanding past events, even this far back in time, can help one make changes for the better. To do this, one needs to create a connection between the guests in the pavilion and the land itself. We do this in many creative ways. First, I created a color palette, which is a collection of all the main colors of the land. This can consist of the landscape and the architecture. For instance, the tan and brown colors of the color palette are equated to the buildings and the desert area. The green symbolizes the vegetation nearby the Nile River, while the blue represents water and the Nile River itself. Red represents decorations, clothing items, and flowers as well. We also created a set of graphics, which are pieces of a scene that are placed in to help one get acclaimed into the setting. There are three different types of graphics. There's a ghost graphic, a story graphic, and a wayfinding graphic. A ghost graphic is a part of the set, but it does not need to be noticed or looked at by the guests. Instead, it's a part of the set design and helps immerse the guests into the land. My ghost graphic was a simple banner that could be hung on buildings that was commonly used in ancient Egypt. The design was different back then, but this was the design I saw during multiple research. So this is what I used. The second is the story graphic, which gives context about the story to a guest that sees it. It can indicate items, places, or objects, and it helps guests understand the story. For my story graphic, I used a shop sign with hieroglyphics on the bottom and English on the top to show the guests what it's supposed to mean. Finally, my wayfinding graphic. A wayfinding graphic is a graphic that is necessary to have guests see for legal, safety, or other reasons. It helps a guest figure out how to traverse the land. My wayfinding graphic, if any, would be large English text with drawings similar to the drawings on that picture right there. And it would fit into the theme of the land. So the architecture of the pavilion would be based around architecture back then. Buildings would often be tanned, sand-colored, with decorations put on their edges and their sides. The fauna of the land would mostly consist of tropical foliage, shrubs, and many types of trees, such as date palms and even some deciduous trees. There would also be desert and cacti there. The pavilion I designed contains multiple different shops, restaurants, buildings, a museum, and an attraction or ride. This is the pavilion I created. There's a museum in the middle with snack booths on both of the sides of the museum. There are also other shop booths along with the snack booths. There's a restaurant to the left of the drawing, and you can see at the bottom there is an attraction which consists of a river or a boat ride. This pavilion was designed before the ride was made. As such, the ride concept was changed later on. Currently, the ride is supposed to showcase people's culture and people working in their normal areas and homes. However, this original ride would showcase the wonders of Egypt, such as the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx. However, I thought this would not fit the story of the pavilion, as it's supposed to have guests relate to the people living there, not see all the ancient things they left behind. Not only is landscape important for setting a setting, but also sound design is important. There are many different types of sound. There's natural ambience, which I chose water from the Nile flowing, wind, and birds chirping. These would all be played out of speakers all along the pavilion. Then there would also be man-made ambience, which would include talking, bells, jingling of currency, and general commotion. It would give the feeling of hustle and bustle that the pavilion would need in more supposed populated areas. Finally, at night, crickets and fire from torches and general lighting would play throughout the speakers to give a more immersive feel. Like I said previously, we had made a restaurant, and this restaurant must have a menu. The background of the menu gives it an old feel, while the picture is based on actual ancient Egyptian art that they made. The food includes an appetizer of bread with honey, entrees of beef bean stew and grilled and salted duck, a dessert of honey sweetened cake, and beverages of apple honey date smoothie, and grape juice as a substitute for wine. All of these foods are somewhat based on actual cuisine that they ate back in the Egyptian Empire. Finally, we created a mood board. This uses resources to convey a message and mood. This is used for planning in order to keep a theme while designing the pavilion itself. You need to bring guests into the world using this mood board and the themes that along with it, using sight, smell, taste, and hearing in order to convey a message. In my specific case of the pavilion, it's presented in a way that makes people relate to the people of the past. People living back then were still people, and as such, they would be relatable and do things that we would do in modern day life. As such, seeing them perform these activities would reinforce the idea that knowing the past can help the future by letting us realize that our actions really don't change. It's just a part of our human nature. Along with designing a pavilion, we also designed and modeled a dark ride. A dark ride is an indoor amusement ride to showcase a story. It is often done within a building to control lighting, and it conveys a story using various scenes. Popular well-known examples from Disneyland include Peter Pan's Flight, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Indiana Jones' Adventure. We went through a creative process to design these rides. First, we brainstormed using a brainstorming board. A brainstorming board, like the one shown at the top right, has many ideas listed on a board. In the end, you decide to choose the one that fits the best with your mood board and what you feel is right for the pavilion. In the end, I chose a ride on the Nile River. This is important for the Nile River is important to culture, for flowers, fauna, life-giving water, transportation, and recreation. As such, this ride symbolizes the importance of the Nile River to these ancient people. Next, in the creative process, we gained feedback on our ideas from classmates in various meetings. Finally, we made a storyboard. A storyboard is a group of drawings and scenes that depicts the entire ride. I decided to theme the ride on viewing people and culture on the boat of the Nile River. This gives a sense of scale towards guests, and it lets them become attached to the people within the ride itself, and in relation, the people of the past. 3 scenes in particular needed to be emphasized to the guests in order to get the idea across. The first scene needed to be emphasized because it mainly consisted of nature and the natural fauna around the Nile River. This mainly demonstrated the life-giving power of the river and what it meant to these people long ago to have a safe haven from the hot desert. These next two themes and scenes that needed to be emphasized were the day and night city scenes. These show the most culture and activity out of all the other scenes because they actually show people walking around, interacting, and generally living their lives. As such, it needed to be pointed out within the ride itself. The goal of the ride is to literally show people those of old in order to learn that people are still people and that people should pay attention to history and the past. The best way to visualize this is to show robotic people working, relaxing, shopping, and interacting. This also helps with relatability. With the ride system was a papyrus reed-themed boat on tracks. This boat would have running water next to it to give the illusion of floating down the Nile. The boat was based off papyrus reed boats of ancient Egypt because it was used by the people of the Egyptian Empire for transportation, fishing, and more. It also symbolizes their technology. The boat is modified to have 20 seats. while traditionally reed boats had no seats and people stood on them. Finally, the track system was used for the boat to keep accuracy and timing between scenes so that scenes wouldn't overlap and people wouldn't be able to see each other on the ride. So here's the ride layout and testing of my ride. The above picture is before testing, which I drew out, and the below picture is after testing. These tests were testing for overlap of scenes and optimal guests per hour. The ride duration that we came up with was 2 minutes and 8 seconds, and the ride capacity was 2,400 people per hour. There were 7 scenes in total, and they were spread out on the track in order to prevent overlaps and to prevent multiple people from seeing further scenes. Finally, I made a scale model of the ride out of cardboard. These included decorations and objects lining the track, and the scenes labeled with pictures on sticks. So we're going to take a little ride through the ride by telling what a person would see. So the boat would leave the loading station and take a right bend. The guests would experience nature and natural fauna and foliage in one of the more important scenes of the ride. After more bends, the boat would come across a larger boulder and the next scene. The scene would consist of a man-made canals feeding crops with water. Essentially, this scene is a farming area. It takes another bend to start seeing buildings and people within an Egyptian city. It passes by multiple houses from the time and sees robotic people moving, talking, and interacting along set tracks. The boat would then turn into a man-made canal for transportation, and it would see multiple items from the time on pedestals. The boat would then turn and pass through a tunnel before entering the night scene. This scene would have torches and a fire lighting the area, and the people performing their nightly rituals would be returning from saloons and their work. The boat would then take a long bend before passing through another tunnel. Finally, the boat would exit the tunnel to see a scene similar to scene 1 before pulling into the loading station. One lesson I learned throughout this entire experience is that one should plan out their models and drawings accordingly while using resources and pictures as guides. I often would have research and design kind of separate, as I would research and then I would design without looking at my research, and then I'd have to go back and make changes. I learned, however, that if I had it all up at once, I would have a better picture of the scene and I'd be able to create the ride easier by having my resources and my work all in one spot. One difficulty I had while doing this project was finding quality photos. Many of these photos were drawn, meaning they had a smaller resolution. As such, these pictures would look pixelated whenever printed or put onto any sort of presentation. As such, I had to overcome this by making do what I could find on the internet. And I used pictures in more clever ways by using some real-life pictures of ancient Egyptian ruins to symbolize what they may have looked like in the past. A second difficulty I had was a lack of resources, specifically glue. I did not have a working glue stick at the time of making my scale model. As such, I had to use wet glue, which was terrible for making the model because things would fall over while drying. In order to surpass this difficulty, I had to prop up specific objects while they were drying using other objects. My largest triumph from this project was successfully gluing the scale model with no falling pieces, because it was really hard to glue the scale model, and I was very happy when it did not immediately fall apart. Thank you. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Steele. If you would kindly take off the sharing, although that's really cool. All right, let's look for hands up. That was very thorough, Steele.
Thank you.
I see somebody react. Mel, you have a question?
Yeah, I want to say great job. Very detailed, aren't you? I really liked it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what he's been working on for so long. All right. Good job, Steele.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. All right, anybody else with a hand up? I don't see anybody yet. I'm going to just speak. Steele, the mathematics of your scale model, were you trying to be super accurate with that, or were you just estimating scale-wise? You're on mute, Steele. Sorry.
I'm sorry
All
about that.
right.
But I was not necessarily trying to be super accurate, because I didn't have that much space. And of course, I did have difficulties gluing. And so after a while, I just decided, you know, I'll just make it look realistic-ish.
Okay.
I tried to make it as realistic as possible, though in the end, it isn't super to scale.
All right, but it looked like it from the outside. Thank you. Elsa has a question. If you'll unmute yourself, Elsa.
I thought it was really good. Like, you put lots of work and detail into it, and especially your presentation, which I thought was really nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elsa. And then Hadley, if you go ahead and unmute.
I thought your ride was really detailed that you made.
Thank you very much. I spent a lot of time on it, so I'm glad you liked it.
And then Steele, lastly, in case there's no more hands, why Egypt? What inspired Egypt for you?
Well, previously in the year, I wrote an essay based on why the start of human civilization was one of the most important things in human civilization, for obvious reasons.
Okay.
But one of the examples I gave was ancient Egypt, or one of the examples I thought of putting in. I realized later on that it was later than some earlier societies, but in general, Egypt was a very strong empire for its time. It had over 1 million people in a time which had barely any technology that, you know, was modern, and it managed to last for over 2 millennia, almost 3, which is very long for a civilization to go practically unchanged. So I wanted to talk about it.
Great. Well, you did a lot, and it's your purpose for your project, or what you learned from it, continually came through in your presentation about trying to learn from the past.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Hadley, do you still have another question, or is your hand just up by mistake?
How do I put it down?
You have to hover over the hand again, and it'll say lower hand in a moment. Yay. Okay. All right, Steele, another nice job. All right, thank you. All right, next we have Ava and Hadley is in charge of the screen, I believe. Is that right, Ava?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you'll both put your video on, of course, your image, and would you introduce yourself and introduce your project too?
Okay. So I'm Ava. I'm Hadley. So we did our project on the cardiovascular and respiratory system. So the beginning. At first we wanted to do a mix between the two systems, but we were not on the same page. Hadley thought we were focusing on the lungs, while I thought we were focusing on the heart. We finally produced the idea of doing a test made for each other so we could focus on our chosen system to study while still learning about the other one.
How COVID-19 affected our project. Coronavirus made it hard to communicate with each other. We couldn't share pages with each other, so we didn't know what the other knew to include in the test. Also, we didn't have the resources we needed to make a TED Talk that we would have had at school. So overall, I think COVID-19 has merged everyone's standards for their project.
Starting with the basic system. We started learning about the basic system and the major parts of each system. The major parts of the cardiovascular system is the heart, the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. The 4 parts of the heart are the left and right atriums and ventricles. The superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava bring blood into the right atrium, goes through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle, then to the pulmonary artery and out to the lungs. Now the carbon dioxide the blood cells have been carrying switches with the lungs we breathe in through the thin lining of the capillaries. That's when we breathe out carbon dioxide. Meanwhile, the now oxygenated blood is being brought back by the left and right pulmonary veins. The blood enters the left atrium through the mitral valve into the left ventricle and into the aorta where it circulates through the body. Cardiovascular system. These are the main parts of veins, arteries, and other essential parts of the cardiovascular system. Capillaries, deep veins, superficial veins, pulmonary veins, systematic veins, elastic arteries, muscular arteries, arterial alveoli, and the heart.
Respiratory system. The air that contains oxygen and other gases come into the body through the nose and mouth, and they go into the trachea, bronchus, and bronchiole. Then they go to the lungs. In the lungs, the oxygen is moved into the bloodstream and carried through the body. Red blood cells collect the carbon dioxide and transport it back to the lungs where it leaves the body when you exhale. The main parts of the respiratory system are the lungs, trachea, bronchus, pulmonary alveolus, larynx, and the pharynx. I was working on a model that helps explain the main parts. So the balloon that I'm pulling on in the video pumps the lungs, so it acts as the diaphragm, which is the muscle that allows the lungs to pump, and then the carbon dioxide goes back up the way it came through the trachea, bronchus, and bronchioles.
Cardiovascular diseases, infections, and sicknesses. 1 out of 2 Americans have cardiovascular or blood vessel disease. Coronary artery disease is the leading cause of cardiovascular death in the world. It's plaque buildup in the arteries supplying blood to the heart. It can also lead to heart attack. Heart failure is when the pulsations of the heart are weaker than normal, causing the organs to get not enough blood, resulting in them shutting down. Congenital heart disease is a malformation in the heart, aorta, or other large blood vessel. There are many variations of CHD, including atrial and ventricular septal defects and transposition of the great arteries. Atrial and ventricular septal defects is where there's a hole in your septum. It is the wall separating your atriums and ventricles. Transposition of the great arteries is where your aorta and pulmonary arteries switch. So your pulmonary artery is attached to your left ventricle, while your aorta is attached to your right ventricle. Bone marrow and blood cell count. If you have a high white blood cell count, it means your body is working hard to destroy virus or infection, or you could have emotional or physical stress. Bone marrow is a spongy part inside of your bone that makes blood cells. Long bones are bones that have red and yellow marrow. Red marrow is the one that makes blood, and yellow marrow is involved in fat storage. When your kidneys send out a hormone called erythropoietin, or EPO, it stimulates the bone marrow to produce blood cells. Since your kidneys filter out your blood and other waste products, they will catch infection first. A network of blood vessels is sent in to retrieve the blood. When your bone is being made, the bone marrow grows in the diaphysis. After that, the osteoclasts break it down to make room for the medullary cavity. Osteoclasts break down the bone, osteoblasts form the bone, and osteocytes are mature bone cells.
Respiratory diseases, infections, and sicknesses. Asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, lung cancer, cystic fibrosis, bronchiectasis, pneumonia, pleural effusion, tuberculosis, and coronavirus. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is a group of lung diseases that block the airflow and make it difficult to breathe. And people with COPD right now are most at risk for coronavirus. Gas exchange. Gas exchange is when the oxygen is switched out for the carbon dioxide in your bloodstream. The air goes in through your mouth and nose and into your larynx. Then it is carried down to your trachea and into the bronchus. Then the air is in the lungs. It goes through what is called your bronchioles and into the alveoli sacs where the gas exchange happens. Then the carbon dioxide goes the same route and you exhale. This is another model that I made, and it is like you pump it and it shows gas exchange so the red is like represents the oxygenated blood in your bloodstream and the blue represents the non-oxygenated blood. Respiratory system facts. For humans, our lungs aren't the same size. The right lung is a little wider than the left, but it is shorter than the left. The left lung is narrower to make room for your heart, and the left lung is shorter to make room for your liver.
Cardiovascular system facts. Hemoglobin is the protein in your blood that makes your blood red. Globin is the protein. Globin has 4 subsections that each have a pocket for oxygen. Globin changes its shape to let carbon dioxide and oxygen in and out. When your globin is allowed to release the oxygen, it changes shape. Carbon dioxide and heat are waste products that lower globin's affinity for oxygen. When the globin lets out the carbon dioxide, it changes shape again, then heightening its affinity for oxygen. The respiratory system, Hadley's test, had 7 questions, including 1 challenge question. Each question had a certain amount of points according to how difficult it was.
The cardiovascular system test, which was Ava's test, was the same just with cardiovascular questions.
On May 1st, I got Hadley's test done. Hadley got 100% and I got 100%.
COVID-19. There is a lot that is still not known, and COVID-19 is easily spread even with asymptomatic people. It is caused by a coronavirus called SARS-CoV-2. Older adults and people with respiratory and cardiovascular problems or illnesses, like people with COPD, seem to be most at risk. Some symptoms are shortness of breath, fever, pneumonia, chest pain, headache, new loss of taste and or smell, dry cough, etc.
Research done shows that the flu can create complications with the heart. Fever and inflammation cause the organs to be in more demand for oxygen. With the already weak lungs, they are almost incapable of making the switch between CO2 and oxygen, resulting in the heart muscle to starve for the lack of oxygen from the left atrium and left ventricle. Yeah, that's our project.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was waiting for you to play that video at the end there. Okay. Any hands raised? The compliments or questions for Ava and Hadley? First thing I will say is the amount of coordination you two had to do over space and distance between your homes is impressive. A lot of collaboration went on. Okay, do I see Steele has a question for you, or a comment?
I was wondering, why did you mention bone marrow? Was that linked to, okay.
Because when involved cardiovascular system is all about the heart and the blood and the arteries and veins. So if you know what type there is, you can also know how it links in with infections and other things like that.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
While we're waiting for another hand to be raised, please people participate. We'd love to hear your comments. Hadley and Ava, did you purposely choose your two systems because they're very closely linked?
Yeah.
Did you notice that? I mean, because of the heart sending, okay, tell us about that, please.
So they're connected mostly because when you're like the blood is oxygenated in gas exchange, the oxygen has to go into your bloodstream because it is like picked up by the red blood cells.
Yeah, because the blood cells wouldn't get to the lungs without the heart, and the heart wouldn't get oxygen without the lungs. So
Very well said. I agree. Anybody else with a comment or question?
I don't.
Melanie.
I was just going to say, having watched these girls go through this, it was really impressive that they took on such a complex project and were able to merge them together. Hadley, I loved your 2 little videos too. Those were great. I think you guys did a lot of work, worked on it constantly. It was a great job. So
Thank you. It shows. Jordan, did you put your hand down?
Yes, I did. Melanie said like exactly what I was gonna say.
You are twins in the brain. Okay, Alessandra, how about you?
I really liked how detailed you guys were.
Yes, and I wrote down, this is mine, these are my notes. It's a great project to practice speaking and decoding medical vocabulary. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, give them a hand. Thank you. All right, girls. Let's go on now to Jordan, if she will introduce herself, please, and then we'll get started with our next.
Yeah. Okay, so do I introduce myself first and then do the share screen? Okay. So I am Jordan Herbe, and this is my Genius Hour. Okay, so struggles. No one likes them. They're the hardest part of relationships, life, and directing. That's my Genius Hour. Struggles of a director. What my project originally was, it was to put on a play and visually see the struggles of a director. Through this process, I found the biggest struggle anyone has to face: setbacks. Setbacks can ruin anything. So my form of setbacks were coronavirus or COVID-19. This ruined a lot, but I was able to reimagine my project. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do the play anymore. So I interviewed my mentor and took notes and found the struggles from these 20-minute interviews. The struggles in writing a play are finding a story. So with finding a story, you have to find, like, if you want a drama story or a love story or whatever. And my mentor said that was a 10 out of 10 struggle. And then finding the plot arc. So if you have so many cool ideas, but if you did all of those cool ideas, it would be like 5 hours long. You have to figure out how to shorten that to about 2 hours long. So that the hardness level depends on what your story is. And then tapping into personal pain to create good art. The hardness depends on your emotional experience. So my mentor, for example, she is writing a musical about her life, and her sister passed away, and so she has to put that into her musical to create good art. So writing the play overall is a 10 out of 10. Okay, so this is what my mentor is working on. This is what her musical looks like. It has like all these notes and all this stuff all over it. So now, holding auditions. What are the struggles? So when the person you have in mind doesn't walk in the door, the hardness level on that is a 10 out of 10, because let's say you have a character in your play or musical that's named Jake, and you picture him as a ginger, blue-eyed, with braces. But the only guys that walk in are brunettes, and they have brown eyes, and they have braces, and stuff like that. That hardness level to cooperate with that is a 10 out of 10. So holding auditions overall, that's the only struggle, so it's a 4 out of 10. Blocking. Blocking is like moving on stage, and the only struggles of blocking is avoiding upstaging. So the hardness level on that is a 10 out of 10. So upstaging is when someone forces you to turn your back to the audience. A thing in plays and musicals, you never want to turn your back to the audience, but that's what upstaging is. So that's the only struggle, so it's a 4 out of 10. Set design. What are the struggles? So the only struggles are budget. If you have this really cool idea, but it would be way more than what your budget is, then you have to like make that into your budget, make it less expensive. So the hardness level on that is a 10 out of 10. Set design overall, 10 out of 10. Line design. What are the struggles? So finding someone who's capable, how hard this is a 6 out of 10. Because if you want to have a light here and a light over there and a light this, there, and that, and this person that you have doing your lighting doesn't know how to do all of that, they have to figure out more on like how to do it. So overall, it's a 6 out of 10 as well. Rehearsal procedure. So what are the struggles? The struggles are scheduling. So scheduling so if everybody's good with Tuesday except for one person, you have to find a new day to do everything. So like Wednesday, Thursday, or something like that. So the struggle is a 7 out of 10. And then trying to work with people, how hard that is a 7 out of 10 as well. If somebody is like super mean and they don't want to listen to you or something like that, and you have to work with them, you just have to work with them. So the overall with the rehearsal procedure is a 10 out of 10. So these struggles are nerves. Everybody's nervous. We're nervous you're gonna mess up, but once you actually get started, it goes way easier from there. So it's just a 2 out of 10. Also, opening night overall is a 2 out of 10. All of them combined. So with like set design, light design, all of that stuff combined, that's a 46. 46 out of 70. Sorry. So that's a 46 out of 70. So credits. Courtney, she was my mentor, and she helped me through the whole process. And my dad, he also helped me through the process. My mom, she helped with everything. She made things so much easier for me, and that helped a lot. Teachers, they also helped me through the process. All of these people here helped me through everything. Thanks for listening. Any questions?
Thank you, Jordan. My screen either froze, or I don't know if yours did. Could you go back and show your final rating tallies, please? Can you show that part of your screen again? I don't know if anybody else had that same issue.
I did.
You did? Okay.
So, oops. Oh no, what's happening? Okay.
It's all right.
So all of them combined is a 46 out of 70. So that's what my mentor said for like light design, set design, all of them combined, rehearsal, all of those combined is a 46 out of 70.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We have a question from Ava.
I just thought it was really it just went very thorough. It just had the same theme that you kept going, and I thought that was good that you didn't go on to different subjects that had no variation whatsoever. So, yeah.
Thank you, Ava. And Melanie?
Yeah, I'm just curious what made you think of this topic? Are you interested in the arts and performance and things like that?
So,
you did a great job, by the way.
Thank you. So I've always loved acting. acting. I like acting, singing, all that stuff. And just, I wanted to, for this year, I wanted to actually do a play and see what my directors have had to go through. And I wanted to maybe put on a play, but since coronavirus and stuff like that, I couldn't do it. So this year, I'm finding out the struggles of a director, and hopefully next year I can maybe do the play. That's my plan.
Great. Thank you.
Jordan, you're thinking big. I like that. You're thinking big things. Like putting on a play is a big one. I did one in my cul-de-sac when I was 5 years old with my cousins, and it was fun. Okay, let's go to Hadley has a comment or question.
If you had done a play, what would the topic be about?
So my mentor, she helped so much with this. She actually wrote the whole play. I like gave her a topic and I said, this is what I want, and like I edited it, but she wrote the whole thing. So it was about this girl who really liked to sing and stuff, and there were these bullies that would just like down on her and just say, no, you're not good and stuff like that. And then this girl, Lady Day, my mentor Courtney would have been Lady Day. She was like the one that like helped the main character to get through all this bullying and like don't care about them and all that stuff. So that's what it was about. It was going to be, I know that sounds like a lot, but since I'm a beginner, it was only going to be 10 minutes long. So that's another, like what I said before, that's the struggle of a play. If you have so many ideas, you have to shorten it to a specific time. So
Thank you. Ava, do you have a comment or question?
Oh wait, sorry, I stopped.
That's okay. Jordan, with your determination of your ratings, how did you determine what a 4 out of 10 versus a 9 or 10 out of 10? What were you using for that?
I interviewed my mentor and I asked her a whole bunch of questions, and I asked her like, so what are the struggles of this? And then she'd tell me, and then I'd ask her, so how hard is that struggle from 1 to 10, 10 being super hard, like it's one of the hardest struggles, to 1 being like, it's hard, it's okay. So I asked her that, and then she would tell me based on her experience. So Courtney is actually, she actually writes plays, and so from her, she writes and directs plays, and so from her experience, I would ask her, like, how hard is this from every play you've ever had? How hard is it? And then she'd tell me, and then when I have all of those, so from the overalls, I got all those, and I added them up, and then that's how I got 46 out of 70.
Thank you. Are you still inspired to do a play after noticing how much struggle there is?
Yes.
Good.
That's the thing. That's with life in general. There's going to be struggles, and there's going to be setbacks, and there's going to be all that stuff, but you just got to push through. And that's what directors also have to learn. You can't give up. You just got to push through it.
A good message for all of us, Jordan. Thank you. Let's give her a hand. Thank you very much, Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, Neil, when you're ready, if you guys want to take a break, you guys want just whenever you're set, buddy, you're welcome to join, pop in. I'll turn off my video.
All right. So I'm Neil, and I did a Westcott presentation. All right. So yeah, I did a Westcott presentation. So what is Westcott? Westcott is a proposal that is similar to Epcot, and it replaced with California Adventure, and it pretty much shows the people and architecture in a showcase of a certain place around the world. So my country was India. I chose India because that's where my family's from, and I mean, I wanted to like know more about it, I guess, know what it's like there, because I only been there when I was super young, so I don't really remember. The population of it is 1.353 million or billion, and that was in like 2017, I think. So I couldn't find anything more recently. The population density is 264 people per square kilometer. So there's two major languages. It's English and Hindi, and the major religions are Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. So creating a pavilion is the first thing that we had to do for the Westcott project. A pavilion is pretty much a land that showcases a country that has a story involved in it. So we had to find 3 different graphics. So my ghost graphic, which was it's like a background graphic, it doesn't really show out. It's the camels, and it just because there's a lot of camels in India, so it just brings out like the nature of India, kind of. And then the flag is a story graphic because there's a lot of flags around India. They take like the flag super seriously, and they have it everywhere when you go. And then the sign is wayfinding because it just resembles like the streets in India because there's a lot of streets and a lot of roads. There's some pictures that come up after that, and it's a lot of chaos. So a lot of the street signs are broken down, or like in that picture it shows. Architecture and landscape. So it was a really rural design. The dark colored shops, and because dark colored shops and houses is really common there. There's not a lot of really bright colors unless it comes to clothing and stuff. And it's a really big British influence because they were controlled by the British for a while. A common food in southern India that gets grown is bananas. There's a lot of them, and yeah, and then northern India is kiwi. So we had to create a menu. There were a few different things that I did. So the appetizer it's called fish pakora, and it's a deep fried fish, and it's like seasoned with a bunch of different things. And then you have curry or chicken curry or something like that. And it's a sauce with onions, ginger, garlic, tomatoes, and a bunch of spices. And then you just put chicken and rice in it. Some drinks it's called mango lassi, and it's yogurt, milk, and mango pulp, and it's mixed together and blended, and with like sugar and stuff. And then the other one, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's a cold drink made with mixed almonds, milk, and a lot of other like seeds and stuff. So sound design, this is the picture that I thought most resembles the sound design of India. There's a lot of mostly like the main sound design in India. There's a lot of dogs barking, a lot of commotion, a lot of like horns honking, and just like it's a lot of chaos going on, kind of. So that's a example of a picture because you can see there's a lot of cars and a lot of people walking in the streets and all that stuff. And India, there's a lot of walking to get to different places. And there's also a lot of those bikes that you see. So the next thing that we had to do for Westcott is we had to design an attraction. And we had to do a dark ride. And a dark ride is pretty much an indoor amusement ride, which guests experience a story through the various scenes within a show building. And so it's pretty much just a story that you go through. It's, yeah, pretty simple. And Disney's made a lot of them, as it says right there. Oh, wow, I have that twice. Okay, so this is my storyboard. It's pretty great. So it starts off with the entrance, and you go to the entrance, and the first thing is New Delhi. And that New Delhi that's the gateway, and that's a really big gateway. It's a really major part because it's been there for a really long time, and they always have guards standing in front of it. And behind it's an airfield, an airstrip, so planes can like land and stuff into it. And then the other one it's called Rajasthan, and it's a super old city, and it has a lot of forts that were built a really long time ago. And that's my fort. The next one is the slums of India. It's a super big part of India, and a lot of people know about it. And it's pretty much just a bunch of rural houses, and it's pretty much everyone working together to survive in that one area. And the last place is the Taj Mahal, and it's a super big building that people go there to like worship and stuff like that. So my ride system is one of those bikes. It has it's going to be enhanced motion vehicle to like go through the ride, and the maximum capacity is going to be 13 people. You can't really fit 13 people in that, but they would be just like more behind it because it's like a ride, and it would simulate the movement of like the bad roads, the bumpiness, and all of that kind of thing. So ride layout and testing. That's my layout of my ride. The purple spots are the different stops that you make. My duration was 1 minute and 51 seconds. The dispatch interval is 24 seconds, which is like the time between the rides, or the stops. And then the ride capacity per hour is 1,950 people. So lessons learned. Time management was a really big lesson learned. It's not easy to procrastinate on these things, and yeah, if you procrastinate, it's going to be a lot harder to catch up when you're behind than when you're ahead. Stay productive. That's also a big thing, because there's times where like you're not procrastinating because you're doing the work, but you're kind of like doing it lazily or not putting your full undivided attention into it. And yeah. Okay, wait. Here, I'm gonna open up my pictures real quick because it didn't save in here.
Good, good.
So I'm gonna open up my pictures. 1 second. Here, I'm gonna unshare my screen so I can find it real quick.
Yeah, good idea.
And then any questions, I can answer those while I'm trying to find it.
So did you find yourself procrastinating some, Neil?
Yes.
Is that what you did?
100%.
100%. Okay.
Yeah.
At least you named it, you owned it, and then you worked through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Let's see what you find it.
Okay, so this is a picture of the Taj Mahal. It's just like, this is what I did. So the black lines are the ride. And then one of the lines is just like, because lines are really popular there. So the ride would just go through the Taj Mahal and show that. Another one is, can you guys see that? Oh, do I have to share it every time? All right.
Yeah,
So
not yet.
that's what I did for slums. It's just a bunch of different Monopoly houses that are really small, so it like shows that how tight they are to each other and how close they are. That was also another struggle I had, is the hot glue, because that's the only type of glue that I had in my house, and it was kind of hard to maintain and make sure it doesn't go crazy. My other one is right here. This is Rajasthan, and it's just it shows like the fortresses that are everywhere that are super old and stuff like that. And then two more. This is New Delhi. That's the gateway that are defended by the guards, and then behind it you see a plane, which is just representing like the airfield. And then the last one is my whole thing. So that's what it looked like all around. The black lines are where the track goes, and then those are just like the different stops along the way. So yeah.
Thank you, Neil. Great. We'll look for some hands up for comments or compliments or questions. One thing I'd like to just say what I noticed between this Westcott project, I'm surprised how, I'm impressed how the sensations are such a big part of the project. The sounds, the noises, the tightness of the homes. You and Steele both really got into the culture that way. in a unique way. I thought it was impressive. All right, do we have any? Yeah, Melanie.
I just wondered, have you been to India? Because the way you described it and showed in the pictures, and you said you were originally from there. Have you been there?
So I asked my parents for a lot of this help because my parents grew up there their whole lives and they've been there. I've been there, but I was really young. I was 2 years old, so I don't really remember it. But I asked my parents for a lot of help because they grew up there.
Great. Well, you did a great job.
Thank you.
And thank you, Melanie. And Steele.
I just wanted to I wanted to compliment you because using the animals and the Monopoly buildings was actually a really smart idea. I did not think of using pre-made plastic structures or figures for anything like that.
Yeah.
So that was a great use of materials you had to cut down on time making things.
Yeah, it's kind of started. I was trying to do it like how Mr. Melka was doing it, where he cuts out everything in cardboard. And it took me like 45 minutes to do one animal, and I was like, it's not working. So I just went to the store and got those.
Thank you, Steele. All right, Hadley.
Did you and Steele give each other ideas because you both did a Westcott?
No. So our whole class had to do a Westcott project. It's just whether you wanted to present your Westcott or your Genius Hour project. So Mr. Melko was kind of like helping us out and like saying like what he was doing the whole time. So that's how we got our ideas and stuff.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Hadley, for that. Anybody else? All right, Neil. Hey, I had one question. I'm sorry, and I saw this in Steele's also. There was looked like a program that helped you design the ride, like the duration. Can you explain more about that, please?
All right, so basically what it was is it's just like a simulation of that ride. So you put your different stops along wherever you want your ride to go. So first you have to build like your track on the website. So you build the track and then you put the stops and you put how long you want each stop to take. So say it's 15 seconds or something like that. And then it'll put a little car and it'll go by the ride and it'll tell you like the difference between the two cars and making sure that they won't interact in like the same like ride, like the same stop. Mm-hmm. So it just shows you like how long the ride would be and how many people per hour it can take. And it kind of made sure that you didn't overlap rides and like you had enough time between the rides to like say it.
That's interesting. That's really cool. Bet they use that in real amusement parks.
Yeah.
All right, Neil, again, let's give him a hand. Thank you so much, buddy. Great. Okay, let's go to Elsa. When you're ready, if you need to take a minute, you can. Get yourself settled. We're ready for you whenever you are.
So I'm Elsa, and my Genius Hour project is closest been old to me. So, my Genius Hour project is making clothes for my grandma. I was interested in this because so many things are made with machines in a factory, and I don't have the skills to keep the tradition of clothing alive. I also really wanted to do something where I could spend time with my grandma and learn something new, and show people that clothes can be new and different than what first comes to mind. So the importance of clothes is that they kept us warm, they raised awareness, they were a way to express people's culture and heritage, and they were a family heirloom. They also had a social aspect, because multiple women would work on one quilt at the same time, and would talk about the families and other important things. So the purpose of my project was to spend lots of time with my grandma, and understand more about the history of clothes. I also wanted to learn all of the different techniques and aspects of clothing. So through my project, what I learned is that each tribe has a meaning, history, and story, and that they're made differently than how I thought. I also learned a lot about my patience and attention span. So the return to small is my first quilt block, and it took about 5 days to sew, and it was where I learned the basics of quilting, so it wasn't too hard, but it did take a little bit of time. So the sunbonnet suit was my second one, and it took a little less than 7 days because it was very complicated, and we actually had to redo part of it like over 5 times. and it was my first time doing applique, which is where you sew like a patch over on the top cover. So the yo-yo quilt block was my third one, and we only did the yo-yos and top cover, and I wasn't able to finish because my grandma couldn't come to Spokane because the virus had helped me with the really hard part. So here's some pictures of the process, and quilting is actually a lot different than how I thought. It really requires lots of like math and folding and lots of cutting. Like cutting is one of the biggest parts of it. So here are some pictures of the quilts that inspired me. I was really drawn to more modern styles and like modern fabrics. My original objectives was to make multiple small to medium-sized quilts, and in the end I made 2.5, so I did meet my original goal, but in the middle of my project I did kind of shorten that because of the virus. So my challenge is that my attention span didn't last too long and I didn't have that much patience, because some parts could be like really tedious and take hours upon hours. In the end, I made 2.5 quilts, and they all turned out pretty well. I did have lots of fun with my grandma, but I'll probably not continue this in the future because my patience and attention span is like way too short for something like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. That made me laugh at the end. I'm just going to ask you, do you think your patience and attention span might have a chance to increase the more you want to get something beautiful in your home? Are you willing to change that?
Yeah, I think so.
I had a feeling you might. Who has a question or a comment? All right, Melanie.
I just wanted to say thank you for this one. It's mainly because what you said right away, 2 things, spending time with your grandmother, but the other is keeping something that is kind of old school alive and, you know, knowing how to do that. So bravo to you. Good job.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks, Melanie. Jordan, you have a hand up.
Yes. So, Elsa, I really loved this project. Your speech was super, like, it was just perfect. And, like, you did really good on, like, using your details and, like, presenting and not stuttering and, like, just congratulations on that.
Thank you, Jordan, for the compliment for her. Hadley has a hand up.
I thought it was cool that you tried something that you'd never done before. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a couple, if we want to have more hands up, go ahead, because I'll talk for a second. Elsa, did you coordinate with your grandma over Zoom or Skype or something? Is she not live in the area?
No, she actually she lives in Othello. So I did like text her a little bit about my project and stuff throughout the stay at home.
But you couldn't be with her necessarily during coronavirus?
No.
Okay. And my second thing is can you tell us please how modern quilts are different than traditional quilts, or the process is different? Because you say you prefer the modern quilting.
So it's mostly about like the fabric choice, and there are lots of different like new styles. So kind of like the older quilts have been around for like hundreds of years that people made like from a really long time ago, and like the fabric choice kind of goes along with that style as well. So the modern quilts, they're more newer designs and different fabric choices.
Okay, thank you. All right, Elsa, are there any other final comments or questions? You can raise your hand. All right. Well done. You have some beautiful quilts in your. Nice job, Elsa. Thank you. All right. So, Alessandra, when you're ready, it looks like you are locked and loaded, ready to go.
Yeah.
All right.
So my project is called Golden Retrievers. Okay, so questions I have are, what are golden retrievers affected to cancer the most? What is the main type of cancer that golden retrievers have? So basically, the founding dogs of the golden retrievers breed happen to have genes that increase the risk for cancer. Since all golden retrievers come from these founders and no new genes are being added to the gene pool, the cancer-causing genes are recycled over and over in the population. What are signs of dogs getting cancer? Well, first, the main type of cancer is lymphoma and hemocanceroma. The signs of cancer is swelling, loss of appetite, trouble eating or swallowing, and drastic weight loss. I chose this what is this project? I chose this project because my sister had 2 of them and they died because of cancer, and Sherry Shoemaker's dog, Riley, had bone cancer and lymphoma. Lymphoma is white blood cells coming together. It joins and it looks like a rock or a lump forming under the skin. Okay, so first, fun facts. Golden retrievers are fast, have a great sense of smell, really good at swimming, great hearing and tracking, which is great for hunting. They can tolerate pain more than other dogs. So to keep your dog healthy, you always need to get healthy food for your dog. Make sure they are always getting enough checkups. Hide things like chocolates or grapes and things like plastic so they don't eat it. Make sure to report to a veterinarian if your dog has been having extreme weight loss or doesn't have a desire to eat. Okay, golden retrievers got their start way back in 1865 in the Scottish Highlands, when the breed was developed by Lord Tweedmouth after he purchased a pup named Noose, who was the sole yellow member of a litter made up of retrievers with typical black wavy coats. Later, Belle, who was a member of the now extinct breed called Tweedwater Spaniels, was bred with Noose and several yellow pups, who then became the origin of the new line of yellow retrievers. And then, in the mid-1920s, golden retrievers were officially recognized by the AKC. Which dog gets lymphoma more often? Golden retrievers have about 1/8 of every golden retriever gets lymphoma. German shepherds, beagles, boxers, Rottweilers, Labrador retrievers, basset hounds, Scottish terriers, Arundel terriers, bulldogs, poodles, and St. Bernards. What causes lymphoma? Electric magnetic fields, being by smoke, and pesticides. These all cause white blood cells to fight. It happens when your body creates too much white blood cells, then they attack your healthy body, then your body doesn't have control over it. Thank you for watching my slideshow.
Thank you, Alessandra. You spoke nice and clearly. We could all hear nicely. Great.
You.
You're welcome. Are there any comments or hands up or questions for Alessandra? I'll start by asking a question, Alessandra.
Okay.
I heard early in your presentation that golden retrievers are susceptible because of a limited gene pool from a lot of breeding and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if that's common with other breeds of dogs that are kind of have a smaller gene pool? Do they get cancer more often as well?
Well, yeah, that list that I had said it was like the line from going down, golden, like which type of dog gets more cancer, which has the most chance of it.
So do golden retrievers have the highest cancer risk then? Is that what you're finding?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And the other ones had varying degrees of cancer risk. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Who else has a comment or question? All right, Elsa, then we'll go to Melanie.
I really liked your project and I found it very interesting because I personally love bombs.
Yeah, dogs are bomb. That's awesome. Melanie, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen that she's had trouble with her program and the computer. And so I just wanted to tell her I thought she did a great job. It was very independent, very independent. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Nice job. And I know all about technical difficulties. I'm learning myself this year. Hadley.
I thought you had a lot of interesting facts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hadley, for that. Is there anybody else with a comment or question? Ava.
Good job, Alessandra. I really liked it. This was really great, I think. Thanks.
I think Lord Tweedmouth should be the best name of the year.
Yeah. Really weird, but
That's pretty fun. And if you were to do your project over again, Alessandra, what might you change or what might you do differently?
well, probably looking at all of the dogs and seeing how they can, like how cancer can vary with all these different types of dogs.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. All right, Hadley and Ava, are your hands up by mistake, or do you have another question or comment? Oh, okay, there we go. All right, way to go. Let's give her a hand. Thank you, Alessandra. Nice project. All right, speaking of dogs, Audrey, when you're ready, you're up next.
Okay. Can You Teach an Old Dog New Tricks? By Audrey Ince and Oliver the Dog. Have you heard the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Well, I want to prove the saying wrong so then other people will be inspired to teach their dogs new tricks. I have a dog, Oliver, that is about 11 years old, which is 77 in human years, qualifying him as an old dog. Don't tell my grandma I think that's kind of old. I decided my dog, Oliver, was the perfect dog to test my hypothesis, that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, let's find out. To prepare for the project, I searched the internet of how to teach an old dog new tricks. I came across many dog videos, but my favorite was Zach George. He was very specific and showed many steps of how to train dogs. I contacted a dog trainer, Maddie Castello, to see if she had any advice for me. I knew I could count on her if she got stuck. I had a few questions at the beginning of this process. How long will it take to teach an old dog a new trick? Will Oliver get chubby with all the treats he'll get? And can you teach an old dog new tricks? Will it be successful? The plan started forming through my research. I discovered that dogs need the following: positive reinforcement, consistency, and teaching the trick in baby steps. So the rough training plan was positive reinforcement. Oliver loves his doggy treats. I cut them smaller, otherwise he wouldn't be so skinny right now. Consistency. I got a notebook and a calendar to mark our progress and training schedule. We tried to train every day, but sometimes things would block our path. Baby steps. I divided the trick into small steps. I first had Oliver lie down with his stomach on the floor. Then I took the cut-up treat behind his head so he followed and lied down on his side. Each time, after he started understanding it more, I would say, bang. When he was on his side with his head on the floor, I would give him a treat, just like this. I would drag it around, and then his head would go on the floor, and then I would give him a treat. At first, Oliver was not understanding bang at all, but then he started getting a lot better at it. We started making progress. I had Oliver sit instead of lying down. Then I would have him lie down and then do the trick, like this. So I tell him to sit, then I tell him to do bang a couple of times,
then he goes down and does bang. Oliver kept practicing, and he finally got it when he started sitting, and I said bang, and he would go all the way down in one fluid motion, just like this.
So cute.
So from frustrations and setbacks I had. So patient is more difficult when you are teaching a dog new tricks. I would have to remind myself that Oliver was learning something new. It's like learning new math. You can't just pick it up immediately and know it right away. Sometimes you need more practice than just that. A setback was COVID-19. Oliver went on a mini vacation. Oliver went to live with my grandma, Gigi, because she lives alone. Oliver was keeping her company during isolation so she wouldn't feel too lonely. He was a great companion for her. When Oliver came back home after a couple of weeks, we went back to training, and then the process was a lot faster. Oliver also developed anxiety issues and would keep my mom and I up all night long. He would bark, pace, and shake all night. It was hard for us to see him like this, but my mom and I were always tired in the morning. The medication we got for him made him sleep all day long, and so it was sometimes hard for me to train him. So Oliver hurt his paw also, and we had needed to give him a break until it healed. Oliver had some frustrations too. He would be happy to do the trick the first few times, but then he would get lazy, moan, or just not do anything like this. I'm trying to get his attention. Okay, so I learned a number of things that easily frustrated when the process is slow. Sometimes I needed to remember to be patient. So positive reinforcement and consistency are not only true about dogs, but it is true about almost everything in life. If you want to be better at something, positive reinforcement and consistency will do the trick. If you want to learn how to play basketball better, positive reinforcement and consistency will do the trick. If you want to learn how to play soccer better, positive reinforcement and consistency will do the trick, etc. The most important thing I learned, you can teach an old dog new tricks. Will I continue to train Oliver? Well, I did make a really strong connection with Oliver, and I really enjoyed our time together, so I will definitely continue to train my dog. And I have a little note for Oliver. Great job, Ollie. You do not know how proud I am for you to master this trick. Even though we went through some roller coasters, I want you to know how much I love you and how proud I am. Keep it up. You are the best doggy ever. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Audrey. Well done. All right. I see hands up, so I'll let people start before I do. Jordan, you were first up.
Okay, so I have actually a few questions. So, would you think it's easier to teach a younger dog new tricks since they're newer, or do you think it'd be easier to do an older dog since they have more experience?
I'm actually not really sure. I think it's probably easier to teach a younger dog, so then they can do it their whole life, But I actually don't really know. I've only had Oliver, so I've never had a real puppy. So, yeah.
Thank you, Jordan. Audrey, would you mind taking off your share screen, please, while you're answering the next question? Or Jordan, are you still talking?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Jordan.
No, I was still sharing my screen. Sorry.
Okay.
That's okay.
All right, let's go to Ava.
I just thought it was really funny, and I also have a question for you. Do you think you could teach a new dog old tricks?
I don't.
Ava, you
Define
need
old tricks.
to define old tricks.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Mr. Kirsch.
Audrey, good job.
Thanks.
I'm so proud of you. You did a great job. I do have a question, or I have two questions actually. The first one is, are you planning on trying to teach Ollie some more tricks besides the one that he's learned already?
Yeah, probably. I will.
Are you still leash walking?
Yes, I am.
How's that going?
He's actually doing really well. We took him off like the nose thing that he has, and he's been actually doing really well. So that's good.
Good. And then my other question was, you talked a lot about patience and consistency and positive feedback for Ollie, and that's how he was able to learn. Do you think that you can apply those things to your own learning as you keep moving forward?
Yeah. Probably.
How so?
Just like if I get like maybe like frustrated, well, I'm actually playing guitar right now, and my instructor is like, even if I'm like not doing the best, he still is like, yes, you made more improvement. Like that's really good, and it makes me like feel better. So it makes me feel like I did like a better job than I did last time. So I can probably try it with myself and see if it works. So
Sure, I think that's awesome. I think you can learn a lot of things from Ollie. We can learn from our old dogs as well as people, right?
yeah.
So good job.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Kirsch. Hey, Hadley, do you have a comment or question for Audrey?
I really liked the videos you put in, and it looked like your dog got really good at the tricks you taught him. Yeah. I think he did a good job also.
Thanks, Hadley. Yeah, the idea of being that one fluid motion, you said the word fluid was true. Jordan, your hand is back up? Or is that a mistake?
Yeah. I have another question. So with my dogs, we teach them tricks all the time, and we start with treats, and then we go to no treats. Are you planning to maybe like start like doing it with no treats?
Yeah. Well, I actually did stop doing treats, and sometimes I like do it with his like chew toy and stuff and see, but sometimes I can get him to do it with nothing, so which is good. So.
Thank you, Jordan. All right, Audrey, well done. Great presentation, and you and Elsa can talk about patience next time you see each other at school in the hallways, okay?
Okay.
Nice job. Let's give Audrey one more hand, okay? All right, and Mr. Hill has been waiting in the wings for a long time. So Bryson, whenever you're ready, man, you can go ahead and take over.
All right.
Good luck, Bryson. You're the last one, buddy. You were the last student showcase.
All right.
Get it done, dude.
Do you enjoy cooking but have a hard time finding good, reliable recipes? Well, good for you. You found me. Today we're going to be doing cooking. At the beginning of the year, I wanted to help people get better at cooking. And honestly, I wanted to help myself get better at cooking. To achieve this goal, I wanted to make 6 tutorial videos on 6 different recipes. I also wanted to figure out how to work in editing software. This was a big challenge because there's a lot of different editing softwares out there that do different things, and I wanted to find one that can do exactly what I needed it to do. I also had to edit my videos with music overlays and background text. After I edited the videos, I wanted to upload them to YouTube. My process was to find 6 suitable recipes. This is also another big challenge because I had to make sure the videos were able to be videoed and, well, tasted good. So after I found the recipes, I wanted to test them to check those boxes. I wanted to find the reliable editing software, and after that I found the editing software. I wanted to video all 6 of the recipes. After I videoed them, I would edit the videos with overlays and music, and then I would upload them to YouTube. The equipment I used for this product, I used a Sony Alpha 6000 camera. I used a tripod for steady videoing. My editor was Adobe Premiere Pro CC. And my microphone was Blue Yeti. Some challenges I had. I had to learn how to edit my videos. Adobe Premiere Pro is actually a very complicated software. As you can see right up here, it's a picture of what the program looks like. It is very complicated, but it has like a ton of potential, so it was really fun learning all the features. Another challenge I had was learning how to sync the sound with me talking. So there's multiple times when I actually did a narrator's point of view in my videos, so I had to learn how to sync up the sound with the videos. Another challenge I had was planning what the videos should look like. I wanted to have a clear view of what I was trying to aim for during my videos, so I wasn't all scrambled up right before. What would I change? I would have started recording the videos earlier so I could have more time to edit them. And when I have more time to edit them, I can add cool features and make the videos even better. Another thing I would change would be to find and learn the editing software earlier. Because about halfway through the year, I changed from a Microsoft editor to Adobe, and I wish I'd kind of done that earlier because, once again, that editing software is quite hard to learn. Another thing I would change would be pick some better, maybe even harder recipes as a challenge. Yes, I would continue this project. It was so much fun cooking and videoing it all, and I found that I actually really do have a passion for editing. And yes, I would continue this project during the summer. My final product was 6 edited videos, and here is one of them right here. So that was just one of the 6 videos. If you want to go check those out, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's called Bryson Cooks. I would also like to thank my grandmother and my sister for helping me with these videos and the cooking part. Questions?
Thank you, Bryson. Thank you, Bryson. I'll just start off by saying what I thought was going to be a Genius Hour project on cooking seemed to be more of a Genius Hour project on editing software.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you please tell us how you learned how to use that complicated Adobe software program? How did you go through that?
Well, a lot of it I was like basically watching tutorial videos online, like what I was kind of making, but on the software itself. So I was learning from other people.
Mm-hmm. Good idea. All right. Thank you. Do we have hands up here? I think we have a few. Let's go to Steele.
I wanted to ask, so it seems, wait, you know what? This is a really dumb moment for me because I just now forgot exactly what I was going to say. So I'm just going to say, good job. I like that you were editing videos. I've always wanted to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Steele, I'll look for your hand to come back up. No worries. Hadley, how about you?
What inspired you to do this project?
Well, so usually as our family, we have my grandmother cooks like most of our meals. So I wanted to cook for our family. So that's kind of what inspired me to start cooking.
Just in case nobody goes to your YouTube site yet, can you tell us please the 6 recipes?
So I did two like main entrees, 2 appetizers, and 2 like breakfast type meals. I did lemon ricotta pancakes, fruit smoothies, as I already showed. For my appetizer, I did herb and cheese sweet stuffed peppers. And then the other one was avocado deviled eggs, and then the 2 entrees were bean and cheese pie and tater tot casserole.
I thought that was tater tots on there. Looks good. Thank you, Bryson. Astila, did you remember your question?
Yes, I did. I was gonna ask, did you record all of your videos in one session, or did you record and edit, record and edit, record and edit?
It was more of a record and edit type thing because I like did like small little like videos and then edited it.
All right.
Yes, putting it together. Thank you, Steele. Mr. Milka.
Bryson, nice job, my man.
Thank you.
Hey, you want to put the link to your YouTube possibly in the comments here, so that way we can always go look at those videos ourselves.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
I would like to try some avocado deviled eggs.
Okay.
Me too. Sounds
Nice
great.
try, man.
Very nice. Anybody else with a comment or question for Bryson?
The stuffed peppers sounded pretty awesome too.
They were pretty good.
Were they?
Well,
Good job,
Bryson, now you know how to make your teachers happy once we get back to school.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been our student showcase. Some of the organizers are here with us. Mr. Melka, Mr. Kirsch, you have any final words?
No, I'm so impressed with all of you guys for all the work you put in. I'm really glad we were able to put something together that allowed you to share all the work. It was also a lot of fun just to hear some of the trials and tribulations and maybe what this process, what you learned from this overall process, not so much about cooking as the last example, but just how to persevere through some crazy times and learn new skills and manage your time and do all those sorts of things. So thank you guys so much for sharing your experience with us.
Yes, I was very impressed with the confidence from every presenter. You could tell they knew their material because they lived it. Well done, guys. Thank you. You can all take off your mutes and talk for a second if you'd like. Please visit. Put your cameras back on. Oh my gosh, you guys did it.
Woo!
Rick, you can stop recording now if you'd like.
I
Good job, everybody. I can't wait to watch them all later.
can do that. Over.
Good job, you guys.
Ollie.
Nice job. I want to go on a ride in Egypt and in India. Those sound pretty fun.
You'll have your presentation.
Be prepared to spend multiple $billion then.
Is that right?
Well, it'd probably cost a lot to make an entire theme park.
Hey, are they going to actually build a Westcott Center? Or is there just
No,
that just
it was
idea?
scrapped.
It was
Completely
scrapped. Okay.
Epcot still exists though. You can go to that.
Okay. Nice. So Hadley, was Abram good this whole time?
He was trying
okay.
to play with his droid, but otherwise, yeah.
Good. Oh my gosh.
Say hi.
Well, it's great to see my former students, I will tell you that. You guys are growing up so good.
Say hi.
Okay.
Oh.
I just put the link in the chat for the YouTube channel.
Yes, I see that. Perfect. Thanks, Bryson.
Quick, let's all subscribe and get them over 10 subscribers.
Yes. Right away. Oh, Mr. Melka's already subscribed. Nice.
Nice.
Up, yep, 12, 13. There you go.
Audrey, your dog was fine during the presentation.
Yeah.
Ollie was calm.
Yep.
So, what would be the next trick you want to teach him if you want to do this again? What next feature would you do?
Well, right now I'm teaching him to walk better on a leash, which he's doing really good right now. But I'll probably like teach him to. He can't do that. No. To get the mail. So.
Oh, nice. Does he have to put a key in his mouth? Because my mailbox has a key.
No, we don't have a mailbox. I mean, well, we do, but like, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe. He's
Fun.
asleep right now. He always takes naps, so.
Cool. Steele, what are you going to do with that mock ride of Egypt? Your
burn it. No, seriously, I don't know. It's probably gonna be storage or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
That's funny. Did the wet glue bring you back memories of building bridges in 5th grade?
Yes, except it wasn't a hot glue gun. It was just a regular Elmer's glue bottle.
Oh, did you use hot glue guns in 5th grade for your bridge?
I used.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Gun. I thought we used hot glue guns.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna be
easier.
Significantly easier, right?
Yeah.
Although wet glue, when it dries, it gets strong. That's true.
Yeah.
Audrey, you're making me jealous.
I am? Why?
Yes, I want to go outside. I think I'm going to end the meeting and go outside also.
Okay.
All right, you guys. I'm going to finish. I'm going to hang up.
Okay. Bye.
It was great seeing you.
Bye.
And some of your family too. Bye-bye.